Yeah. You just gotta hold on. 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 Yeah. Yeah. You just gotta hold on.
Yo, 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 yo. What up?
What up, fam?
Welcome back to Who Are We
happening?
Podcast. What's going on with you?
Where he go?
Make your shoulder lean.
Hey.
Shoulder lean.
Okay.
And make your shoulder lean.
Okay.
Hey, shoulder lean.
To the
left.
Shoulder lean.
To the
Hey. What up, y'all? Welcome to Who Are We Podcast. It's your boy, Marcus.
I thought he was gonna say more.
I did too. I thought I was going to say more too.
thought he was gonna say more.
Marcus.
I'm Shalice.
And this is your boy Dre.
What's happening?
And I'm Casey.
Wow.
Welcome to Who Are We Podcast,
Marcus
y'all.
threw us off.
I did. I threw my own self
said-
off. I said, no, the spirit said that was it. You're done.
Done. Wow.
But yeah, welcome to Who Are We Podcast, y'all.
Welcome,
Super
family.
excited to be back here with you all for another episode.
Another show.
Yes.
Hey, and as you all can see, we got a little something to show y'all. A little merch in the building.
Oh.
Okay, he's showing the back. Okay, you
turned
got a
around.
little lint on your little stuff. Yep,
He
it's all
turned
right.
on around.
It's all right.
baby.
Hey, so
The
we're
hat
super.
didn't work with my hair today.
She's out of order. That's what I
okay.
just told her, honestly.
He is
but-
the one who said put it in a bun.
That's perfect. It's perfect.
I'm looking real
I
Yeah.
love it.
Erykah
Okay.
Badu-ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all like
Okay.
the new color?
Tribal?
Like, I love the color.
Pick your
on her.
Afro
Y'all
daddy.
like the color too, right? It's perfect.
The color is nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is
It
nice.
is.
Thank
she
you,
she said
guys.
she didn't like the color. But
I
Right,
don't like the
right.
color. I don't. I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's not my preferred color.
It
on
matches your
myself.
eyes
It
too,
does.
so it's great.
Brings your face out.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
But yeah, so anyway, back to the merch real quick. So
Stylist.
super excited for these are pieces from our very first merch drop for Who Are We Podcast. And so we know a lot of you have seen us wear some of these already and have been asking about how you can get merch, when you can get merch, and things of that nature. And so merch is coming soon.
Coming soon,
We
yes.
don't have a date for you right now on this episode at this moment, but please stay tuned to all of our pages, our social media platforms. We're going to be letting you all know about merch coming very soon. But
Listen,
yeah,
listening.
listening.
We have two perfectionists. They like to
Talk
do
about
things in excellence. So we would never drop something until we have done it in excellence. So like this, the fact that we're wearing it and all of that is a feat because these two right here, listen,
My God.
the back of the shirt, one of the letters was off a little bit. Me and Kia didn't even notice it. Okay? They wore it a whole day. Just a little tiny Marcus and Dre. Oh, the shirt was ruined.
ruined.
Because they want to offer excellence. And I love that about them
Yeah.
because I don't care about small details.
No.
I'm just
Me
like,
and Shalice be like, okay, whatever, y'all got it.
give us a couple examples. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I like that one better than that one. But they be like, oh, we changed the way that the hand was holding around the microphone. What?
I mean, they be up for hours at night. I'm
Yes, we
asleep.
do.
Dre and Marcus texting back and forth on the phone
About
about
not
these-
just the merch, but just
everything.
everything.
In
Small
reference to Who
details.
Are We podcast. So,
Small details.
Y'all
So,
are getting top
Details
notch.
thank you
matter.
guys. Thank
Yes.
you guys.
We appreciate y'all.
Because literally, y'all, we are the whole everything. for our
what
show.
you see is this. Besides our production team who does our filming and editing of our episodes,
Right.
we
Literally,
are everyone.
we told Dre the other day, you're a content creator.
Yes, you are.
Like, he missed his calling.
We're gonna add that to your resume.
I'm done.
Miss McCollin.
a whole content creator. Like,
Man.
it's amazing.
Yeah, so amazing.
I'm thankful for
But yeah, so
Amazing.
hope y'all like the merch. We got trucker hats, as you can see, that have Who Are We Podcast on the front. I'm sure y'all can kind of see what they look like. And then we've also got shirts that have got Who Are We Podcast on the front, and on the back, as you just saw. I don't know if Dre showed it to you, but I mean,
We'll have different styles of different colors and different things, options for people to be able to purchase. Obviously, different levels of quality. So if you just want something super bougie, like somebody like me, may want something like a little bit cheaper because, a little pockets hurt a little bit.
Like a little H&M, wash it 3 times, and you got a little hole in the bottom.
And
Give me
drop
that
a
dollar.
comment below. Like, drop a comment below. What do you guys think about what we got? On
Right,
here? Like,
right,
I want
right.
some feedback. Like when you're like, what you think?
Right. Like, I want my shirt to look like,
Yes.
wow. Okay, he's like a whole model. Like, y'all should see his face.
That's it. Drop a comment and let us know what are your thoughts.
And let us know some things of some merch you would like to purchase. So, like, maybe you're interested in purchasing a hoodie or a bag or
A mug.
a belt.
Or a bell.
Oh, I don't know. I just made that up. You want to whoop your kids with Who Are We?
Says W in the front.
Funny. Yeah.
My God.
But yeah, so hey, that's our merch. Super excited about it. I hope y'all like it. Like he said, drop a comment and let us know what you all think. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting, following. If you haven't already, follow us on our pages. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, TikTok. Subscribe on YouTube and set up alerts for that. I also want to shout out Kia. Y'all, she been keeping up now. She
promised it.
She got on another pair of socks for the episode.
She be online trying to pick a sock.
Yeah, talk to us about these socks right now.
So they have little rings on them, and I think they're just so perfect and darling. And I actually got you a pair of socks too.
Did you just say
babe.
darling?
Darling. She did say darling.
So your
Darling.
socks, it's like the grooming socks.
Oh, so that's the bride and that's the groom.
Oh, they're diamonds, a diamond ring, and put them on right now.
Yeah, literally take your shoes.
Like this. Mike just on the ground.
Right, just everything just messed up.
While he changes, I'm gonna get you a bowl so you can wash his feet.
Washing feet
With her hair.
service. I'm a,
dry.
with oil.
With my hair.
That's
You
funny.
weren't there.
Right. Ooh,
Thanks,
wow.
Shalise.
Yo, these are dope.
Okay.
Love it. Thank you, babe.
You're welcome.
Very thoughtful.
So that's the wife and that's the husband.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a prenup?
That's
Wow.
a good question.
That's a segue
That's
to
a
our
good question.
topic for today.
Prenup.
Juicy.
No, we do not have no prenup.
So this topic today is about prenups.
Prenup.
Why not? Biblical, not biblical, beneficial, not beneficial, detrimental, not detrimental, like prenups.
Wow. Let's talk about prenups. Well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of pushing it off to somebody first, but I guess it doesn't have to start with, I'm like, y'all are married, so we're not married. So
I was married.
I've never been married.
Right.
I was married. I'm not divorced, by the way, guys. I'm not divorced. I'm no longer married. My husband passed away, so there's that. But I was married. We did not have a prenup either. We ain't had nothing to have a prenup for. First of all, like, what we gonna prenup?
These bicycles?
The broke down car in the driveway. I mean, what we prenupping? I'm just kidding.
That's
But
funny.
go ahead.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants to start, but prenups, I feel like I'm the wrong person to start. Like, I'm not married, never
No,
been
go ahead.
married.
Say your
But
opinion because
Yeah,
people who are not
So-
married have opinions.
Here is my first initial thoughts about prenups. I think they are a way out. They're a way out. And so you go into a marriage with a thought already of, if this doesn't work out, then this is what we have to fall back on or to look at that's going to say, this is what you're going to get, this is what I'm going to get, or this is what you're not going to get, or however. I'll be honest, I don't even know how totally how the prenup situation works with all the documents and that. But the basis of what it is, I understand. And so I feel like you're going into a marriage. This is an initial thought, but I feel like you're going into a marriage setting yourself up for a second option. To say, if this marriage does not work, then I have this out, or so everything doesn't fall down into pieces or get into this big back and forth war. And so I could go deeper already, but I'm going to just share that for right now.
Well, here's my thoughts about it. Like, I am personally against prenups, and here's why. It's because I do believe, just like Marcus said, I feel like it's a cop-out, and I feel like it already, like, you're setting up your marriage to be more contractual already. Like, it's not, it has nothing to do with like faith or covenant or anything of that nature of what I feel like a marriage truly should be. I think, like, if you are signing a prenup, you're saying, you know what, I'm going to make sure in an event that this does not work out, I'm going to set myself up for success. I'm going to make sure that I redeem what I have brought to the table. And the reason why I'm emphasizing myself and I is because I do feel like it's a selfish act. At the end of the day, like, you're thinking as it relates to your marriage, you're thinking about yourself instead of like about the marriage as a whole. You're thinking like, man, like, I got this much money and you have this much money. That's not oneness to me. That's not a unity type of mindset that you're supposed to have. There is no union between that. You're saying, like, this is really a business. And if this business lasts, okay, I'm good. But if this business does not last, I can redeem back what I contributed towards it. That's my initial thoughts.
So a prenup doesn't only protect what you brought to the table, right? A prenup also states that, like, let's say we get married, we're both poor. And after 20 years of marriage, we've created this wealth. And maybe he created the wealth and I just was a stay-at-home mom. I had a certain lifestyle while we were married that I need, which is alimony, which is what basically people end up doing that through divorce. The lawyers determine alimony, but the prenup will say, based on our lifestyle, that this percentage of our wealth I will receive monthly because, and so right now it may be $50, right? But the percent is put in there, not a dollar amount, that I'll receive this percent of our wealth if we get divorced. And so I feel like some people, and I'm trying to be not devil's advocate, but on the other side of people who believe in prenups, it's not just to receive what they brought back to the table. I mean, to receive back what they brought to the table, but also to set themselves up for, like, I lived a certain way, and now if we're getting divorced, I'm not going to live that way anymore, so I need to make sure I'm established that way. But I think the root issue is not always that I'm thinking about it from a selfish perspective, but a protective perspective that, well, what if as a woman, what if my husband decides to just walk away from me? Like, I'm in it forever till death do us part. But what if he decides to scheme and do some plan to walk away with leaving me with nothing? And I think the root issue of that perspective of people who think like it's to protect myself, why are you entering into a marriage? First, if you're not Christian, that's all automatically a doomsday event anyway. Entering into a marriage without God and Christ as a center is an automatic, it's not possible for it to be biblically successful. You can live, people do live unchristianed, married for 50, 80 till death do us part. But without Christ, the risks are greater that you run. And so, walking into, as a Christ-centered minded person, walking into a marriage, thinking that I need to protect myself is your first issue. It should be that God is the one who's protecting you because you're doing his will. Like you're marrying the person that he has established and set for you. And so, we always on our show or our podcast, we always center back and point people back to Christ because we're all Christians. And so, not unfortunately, but fortunately, that's going to always be the key factor to our discussion, is because without Christ in the center of your marriage, you will enter always as a what if.
Yeah.
But if Christ is the center, there is no what if. There is, like you said, plan A, plan B. But with Christ in the center, I don't have the right to determine what if, other than, and that there's biblical things that are spelled out, infidelity, right? That's the only thing in the Bible that releases somebody. But that's a whole nother spin-off onto that. I want to give someone else a chance to.
Yeah. So for me, growing up, I had the mindset, don't ever depend on a man, very independent, have your own money. And I'm going to be honest, I carried that into my marriage at first. But after being married to who I'm married to and really understanding what marriage is, it's one. We're one person. Prenup it literally don't make sense, right? Because we're one person. But I do struggle with like what you said, Shalice, like what if, someone cheats, you know what I'm saying? And I've brought in all this money and we didn't have that and you cheated on me. Is it still okay? Like, is it cool or not cool? But, would that be a reason? Would that be a reason to have one in place for things like that?
I feel like that goes back into like while he does allow divorce or separation for cheating, are you going to walk away from your marriage because your husband cheats on you? And people's answer is yes, right? But we cheat on God every day and he forgives us. And we're supposed to be lining our lives up to live how he lives. And so that goes into walking through forgiveness and grace in the way that God has presented it. Now, of course, someone's abusing that, right? I forgive you for cheating and then you cheat again and I forgive you again and you cheat again and I forgive you again. Like, how many times do I do that, right? And you have to pray and get release from God. But I don't feel like, and this is just my opinion, I'm not walking away from my husband that I feel that God has called me to be married to. I'm not walking away from my wife as a man. You should not be walking away from your wife that you feel like God has called you to be married to. If you believe that God called you to be married to that person and you feel confirmation and all of that, you shouldn't be walking away because they cheated on you. I'm sorry. You should be working through that.
The thing is, you have to decipher between the spirit and the flesh. There has to be a decipher there. And so, yes, there is context in scripture in the Bible that says if someone commits adultery,
Right.
then they are afforded the opportunity to divorce their spouse. The Bible talks about how God hates divorce, though.
Right.
And so I think it also comes down to understanding that I don't think in the Bible where it says you have the opportunity or the, I guess, point or ability to divorce your spouse, I don't think that means that you have to divorce your spouse because there was infidelity in the marriage. Obviously, that's a complete whole nother topic about infidelity in the marriage and adultery and anything that may or has happened there between a man and a wife in their marriage. And so I think when it comes down to looking at the prenup, again, I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but Kia, you were talking about something and I kind of lost my train of thought on what you said, but it's like if you were talking about, you said you're one person, or you and Dre are one person, or one people, one unit. And so that's like in the Bible where it talks about the two shall become one. And so, like you said, if we are one, then why am I trying to, again, it goes back to trying to have this way out of whether, because I become famous on my own and it's not my wife, is that now just my money?
Right.
Because I happen to be the one that's on the billboards, and I'm the one that's on this social media platform, and I have the thousands or millions of followers. Is that just my money? Is that my fame? Is that or is it us? And so I think, again, going back to what I just said, it comes down to the difference between the spirit and the flesh. Because if we look at it in the natural and in the flesh, yes, it is me. Like, it is physically me.
Right.
But if we look at it in the spirit, we have become one. So at that point, I feel like it's ours. Like, what's mine is mine, or what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. And so that's kind of a thought process and perspective that I have on that.
And to piggyback on that, Marcus, because you referenced the spirit versus the flesh. The thing is that, yes, you as I'm just going to describe you as a man. You as a man is getting this money. You gotten all of this money, things of that nature. You may have gotten it. However, it takes a strong woman to still sustain and nurture that man for you to be able to get that money in the first place. So it's still a collective effort in order for you to be successful. And I think, like, we oftentimes just look at who is bringing in the most money, who is bringing in this fame, this influence that we have. However, we devalue the person that is helping us along the way. They may be doing things administratively. They may be doing things around the house. They may be taking care of your kids, wherever the case may be. And so there is still a partnership that is that is being done even while you're trying to go get that money. And so I think, number one, I think that having the concept, knowing that we are one, when you have that mentality, then what you're not going to do is try to separate your body parts in the sense of, like, literally like separating your body parts and saying, I'm gonna put this hand over here and I'm gonna put this hand over here. You will literally look crazy. And that's what I believe God is looking at us as. Like, what are you doing? Like, in my word, I said the two shall become one flesh. And so what that means is that you guys are in the partnership. You guys are walking in an agreement with one another. And when you start to make or create devices in that body, you look disjointed. You look crazy. You look ill. You don't. And that's where the Bible even talks about being double-minded. Double-minded doesn't mean singular. It also means that you could be double-minded when it comes to you and your spouse, that both of you guys are not one mind. Y'all not in one unit. Y'all not in one, in a one, like, way of living. Like, you guys are separate. So therefore you guys are dealing with the spirit of double-mindedness when the Bible calls us to be a sound mind, for us to put on the mind of Christ. Both parties or both spouses should have the mind of Christ as it relates to their marriage and as it relates to the purpose or the plans of you guys' ways.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
What's your question?
So I'm playing devil's advocate because I'm just thinking. So say my spouse passes away, right? He's a millionaire. I inherit that money. I get married again. Does my new husband have access to that money? Or should I set that money aside and just say he cheats and, we can't work through that?
So for me, I feel like it goes back to you guys become one when you're married. And so what
That's
I think
tough,
Marcus
man.
or Dre, one of y'all or both of y'all actually may have said it. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. Like, what happens if you lost that millions of dollars that you earned from your first husband? Does your new husband say, well, now you broke because that was your first husband's money. This ain't what I got. Is not yours, right? What if he was divorced and money that he got was from a divorce, right? And so it goes back to being one body. Again, we're talking about this from a Christian perspective, right? You're marrying your new husband because God ordained you to marry him, and you're going to withhold a piece of yourself. That automatically puts you and your spouse into discord.
Yep.
Automatically. You know, the number one reason for divorce, which is required, which prenup is the reason why we divorce is the reason why prenups are required, right? The number one of the top 3 reasons for divorce are finances, infidelity, and communication. Those are the top 3 reasons people get divorced. Yep. So when you enter into a marriage with financial barriers between you two, separate accounts, you got to pay this bill and I got to pay that bill. Or can I borrow money? Can I borrow money from my husband? Hey baby, I need to borrow $20 from you. That's crazy. You automatically begin your marriage with discord. Opposite of what God designed it to be. 2 shall become one flesh. I'm going to borrow money for myself. That's how you have to look at it, right? You're looking at your husband as you see yourself. I'm going to ask myself in the mirror, Shalise, can I borrow $20? That's good. Like, when you put it literally, what the Bible says, into literal action. And I got this through marriage counseling when I was married, because we had communication issues. And our counselor told us to go into the mirror when we argue and stand in front of the mirror and argue in the mirror looking at yourself side by side. And my husband, our first argument after marriage counseling, he said, let's go in the mirror. And I felt stupid looking at myself, trying to prove him wrong, talking to myself. It's the same idea with finances. It should be the same way with communication. The top 3 reasons why we need a prenup is because of finances, infidelity, and communication. And so if I go into a marriage already creating this barrier in finances that says, well, I'm bringing this, so you can't have it. You can't touch that because that's mine. That just exasperates that seed that the enemy wants to place in between a husband and wife. Now we need a prenup because he might steal my money. Mm-hmm. He might, just, every month pull money out of my account and put it in a separate account for himself on the side. But if it's his money, he don't need to do that. Right? So, yeah, I think when you marry somebody, no matter how you got your money, when you marry somebody, this is my personal opinion, based off of what the Bible says, we shall become one flesh. So if I'm one flesh, now you have separate accounts because you got savings and whatever. And yes, I need to borrow money from my savings to put into my checking. I need to return that to my savings because I'm working towards a goal. That's different than saying you owe me money, Shalise, to myself. That means I'm putting a mandate that, Shalise, we're going to save and we're going to put this money to savings. And if I take money out, I need to return that because I'm working towards something. But to do that to the person that you're looking at as one flesh, to me, it sounds foolish when you look at it that way, as literal becoming one flesh.
Yeah, I think that comes back down to literally a prenup being based on a marriage being contractual or covenant.
Yep.
And so with that being said, I don't think if I was married and say my wife became a millionaire because of her fame, like what she did, she's a professional singer or an actress or whatever, and yes, we're married, but she is the one who technically, if you will, made this money or brought this into our household. And she, God forbid, just happens to pass away or something happens and I inherit that money. If I get remarried, we're going to share this wealth. I mean, yes, it came from my deceased wife, but we're now again becoming one unit and we're becoming one flesh.
Because think about it. People end up getting life insurance money, right? And so I get married to Marcus. He passes away. He got $1 million life insurance policy. I'm a millionaire now, and I'm gonna get remarried. I'm gonna say you can't.
Right. What I'm gonna do? You get to live in the basement alone, and
It's
I get to
not
live in a
even
high rise
that.
mansion.
I just would not, me personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable going into a new marriage. And my husband's deceased wife, I'm partaking in that. Like, I get we're one.
But what do you mean partaking? Like, what does that mean for you?
Like, it came from another marriage. And I'm able to now munch off of that. Like, I just would feel
Well, wait. Let me say something. So here's the deal. Like, marriage is a choice. Like, that's number one. Like, you chose to be married. And so if you're choosing to be married, then especially if you're trying to do it God's way, there's a responsibility there to where you have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to be open. You have to be willing to share. You have to be willing to be selfless. And if you are a person that wants to hoard your money from like somebody else, then don't get married.
well, no.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. I just think that at the end of the day, like nobody forced you or put a gun to your head and say, hey, get married to this person. And also, here's the deal too. You also get to choose the guy that you are marrying. And if he's the type of guy that is just munching on your money or he's just trying to add to the pot.
But so that's what I'm saying. What do you define as like munching off of someone's money?
Because I'm sorry, because I'm confused on that. Like, I'm trying to think, like, are we talking, like, say, because of this, you're a millionaire and you just, for whatever reason, marry somebody, a man, and he makes $50,000 a year. Like, are you saying, like I'm controlling the finances? Like, or like you can't partake in any way? Like
you can't plan a vacation by yourself with the money that I have. Like, you can't go to Dubai.
Right, like-
because you can't afford to go to Dubai.
I can. So we're going to go to Dubai on my money.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you mean? Or
So,
let her explain that.
yeah, so what I'm saying is the money inherited from my new husband came from his deceased wife. In our marriage, I would not feel comfortable. Like, I would want that money that was inherited from his old wife put aside. Like, I would feel weird.
So then
What are you doing with the
what are
money?
you going to do with the money?
Put it where? I mean, are you digging a hole?
Like, what is happening?
Put aside
Because,
like, the
okay,
money
so
gonna be
then-
in the
so
vault.
So
We'll
then
have
here's-
our money together.
So then here's the question. So now, okay, let's go with that scenario, right? Let's go. We put that money to the side, right? Now y'all have kids together.
Yeah. We have our own money.
So your kid can't get that money because it's your kid and his kid together. Your kid can't inherit their daddy's money.
I mean, that's good. I wasn't thinking from
Well, you said say who has kids together.
Like, so he didn't have kids prior.
Right,
Now they're married. He got money from his deceased wife. Now Kia and him have a kid together.
right.
That's their dad's money, but it's not their mom's money, so I can't inherit it.
Wait, I'm confused.
No, I get what she's saying.
Like, okay, so me and you are married.
Okay,
You were married to Kia first.
okay.
You didn't have kids with Kia.
Right.
You have all this money and it's set aside. Me and you have a kid.
Who I made the money.
No,
the
your
deceased-
wife did.
yeah.
Okay.
She's dead now. Now you got the money and we get married. I'm 50,000-aire, you millionaire.
Okay, I got what you're saying.
Now we got kids together.
Right.
Now, after the fact, my kid can't touch that money because to her point, it's my child too.
Right.
That's his money
But
from
it's-
his wife.
right. You're right. It's somebody else's money.
But in that case, yes, the kids can inherit it because that's their dad's.
They don't have the right because they're your kid, not hers.
But
Right.
again, it goes back to what are you doing with that money?
Right. What's the point? What do you mean when you say put it aside?
like
For
it's
what?
just gonna
For a
be
rainy
sitting
day?
there forever?
Like what
that's
is it? What
no,
is
that's what she's saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So now you got this $1 million sitting to the side that you're never going to use, and your kid can also never use it.
She just wants to be able to get her phone and open a bank account and be like,
Oh yeah, that's my late husband's money.
No, but this.
She's changing her perspective as the show goes on. Look at her.
Yes,
She's
man.
like,
Not making sense.
Just like, oh, this some good money.
going back to the topic, right? So to that point, divorcing, right? So now, forget about kids. Let's say nobody had kids. That was his money from you. You're dead, and now we're married, and so we're getting divorced now. Marcus and I are getting divorced now. And so what you're saying is I don't have rights to try to bring that into the table of this is what our money looks like.
Yes, that's what I'm trying
That's
to
what
say.
she's trying to say. Not that never in life should I ever eat a dinner off of that food. But now when we're going to the divorce table, that $1,000,000 shouldn't be brought to the table.
But
Right.
here's the deal, and this is where I want to get to. Like, nothing in this life should be like owned by us. Like, from a perspective of like, this is my house. Yes, it's your house, but at the end of the day, God gave it to you. And if God gave it to you, then we are to steward that money, not like claim it as our own, not claim it as a perspective of like, I own this to such a degree that nobody else can partake in it. And I have like legal control over what happens with this money, what happens with this house and things of this nature. I believe that all things that we have, like money, things, items, whatever the case may be, is stewarded by us. But at the end of the day, it's God's. We give it back to God.
So I have a good perspective opener for not just for Kia, but for everyone. I feel like it's a good perspective opener. People get things from their previous relationships outside of, or not just previous, just in life. People receive things outside of their marriage, right? You might receive the perspective or understanding of faith or forgiveness, right? And take finances and put it in that same bucket with, now I get to inherit the forgiveness that he gives because you taught him how to do that. So should he withhold that from me because it was a lesson learned from his father or from his mother or from his ex-girlfriend, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, he learned how to forgive people because of a relationship with his ex-girlfriend. And if we put that same idea of finances as we do on everything else that brings joy to a marriage, it creates, why is finances separate from, why do I get to inherit his joy? Why do I get to inherit his forgiveness? Why do I get to inherit his love that he learned how to do from his ex-girlfriend? He learned how to love a woman because of another woman. And now I am the receiving person. So it's the same to me idea that, like, so he gets to withhold that because someone else taught him, someone else went through the hard work with him and dived in and they grew together. And now I get to receive that. Why is it not the same with finances?
Right. And to go back to that, like, at the end of the day, we learn through this life of development, and it's not just for ourselves, it's for somebody else. And we are to never just hold that in for ourselves and look at somebody else and say, you don't deserve this,
Right.
because I just met you and you didn't put in on my development.
Right.
So you don't get any of the fruits of my labor of what I have inherited from my past relationships or my past experiences. And I don't think we should think like that. Like, at the end of the day, again, like, we have possessions, but possessions does not have me. It does not have a strength, like a hold of me. It's not a stronghold to where, like, I need it to identify myself. And I think it comes from also identity issues, because you attach yourself to your success sometimes. You attach yourself to your money. And if you lose it out of your hand, it feels like I'm missing a part of me. Like, you're not willing to let that go. You're not willing to share that with your spouse. Is because, all honesty, that's what gave you your identity. And I think that if you are secure in yourself, man, yes, I understand my late wife has passed. I gained this money. I inherit this money. But this does not have me. Now that God has given me somebody new, I get to bless her in honor
Right.
of what God did in my previous marriage.
Right.
Now I get to honor the one that God has now redeemed back to me.
Right.
Like I got a newfound wife that I get to bless and give towards because of my experience. It's like, yes, it doesn't take away the pain from my wife passing. It doesn't take away the emotional hurt that I feel, but man, God blessed me in such of a way that I get a opportunity to now take all of those experiences, the things that we've been through, the things that we both shared and gained together. I get to share that with somebody else and bless their life. And now it's our life, and we get to move forward with, you know, just a newfound life with somebody else. And I think at the end of the day, you know, we are to be a blessing to other people, especially your own wife or your
Right.
spouse.
And that's my thing. It's like, I feel like we don't honor marriage in the way that it should be honored.
Right.
Right. From a biblical standpoint, it brought value to the person. So like a husband paid a price for a wife in the Bible, right? They brought, you know, herd of sheep or whatever the case is. They paid land or whatever in trade for a wife. And obviously we're not doing that now.
Yeah.
But the reverence and the honor, like you had to present yourself as good enough to have a husband or wife in the Bible, man and woman. The women had to be a certain way as well. And we lack that. We get married because we're lonely. We get married because I'm in love. But we lack that, like, what price are we paying?
Right. Yep.
And so because we're not really paying a price, we feel like, let me make sure I'm good in case we get divorced. But once you've paid a price for something, you're like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to maintain this, to keep this. You buy a house. That's a big price, right? It's we pay sometimes more than our financially, and we work harder for a house than we do for a spouse. A lot of times we do a lot more to get ourselves prepared to purchase a home. We will take home buyer classes. We will prepare our credit. We will get counsel from people on how to fix our credit. We will research and look at the market price and look at the neighborhoods and all of this. We'll drive around for hours. But do we do that? And do we put that much time into preparing for a marriage? And then that's why it's so easy to separate, because we didn't pay a price for it.
Right.
Right.
A significant one, at least.
Yeah. Yes. From you to you, literally what we're talking about is, like you said, the price people pay for something, or the amount of time that people will spend on something that is temporary. When biblically, a marriage is for life.
Yep.
And so I may move 5, 6, 10 times in my lifetime.
Yep.
When I marry someone, it's supposed to be for life.
Yep.
And so I think people like the way a marriage looks,
Yeah.
like the way a marriage sounds.
Yep.
This brings us back to social media. They see this picture perfect family. I want that. I
Right.
want the great woman, or women, I want the great man. And you're saying, I want the 2 beautiful kids, the dog and the picket fence.
Right.
And I love this visual of what this looks like. And so we seek after the look and not after what God said marriage in the covenant is.
Right.
And so that's why we get into the place of having to have prenups as well, because people look at the success of what a marriage looks like and not what the covenant of what a marriage
Right.
actually is. And so they go into it with, again, internal things where I'm seeking success. I have to have enough money to buy a big house. I have to have enough money to buy a great car. I have to have enough money to do this. And success is what people seek so often in life, as opposed to intimacy and covenants with people. And so that's where we get to prenups, I feel like, is because my success matters more than my marriage.
Right.
Come on.
I mean,
Wow.
I feel like that's how we get to prenups.
Yeah.
Right.
My success matters more than my marriage.
And back to that, what you're talking about, media, it's the look.
Yeah.
Like it's the look. Think about how much we plan for the
Reception.
wedding.
Yeah.
How much we
That's a
plan?
topic
We
right there.
plan a whole year plus. We spend thousands of dollars,
Go in
but
debt.
you won't take that $10,000 to pay a counselor to make sure that behind closed doors, y'all are good.
Come on.
You'll pay thousands of dollars to make sure before public eyes, y'all look good.
That's so good, Shalice.
Right? But behind the closed doors, when everyone else is going home and you're opening these gifts together and your husband is mad about this gift and you're good about this gift and you're trying to see, why is he mad that someone gave us this gift? Because y'all didn't spend time that you spent on your wedding on your marriage.
Good.
Like, I would offer up, forget a wedding for me. If I can't afford to go to counseling, I don't want a marriage. I don't want a wedding.
You stepping on somebody's toes,
Right?
I know you
Because
are.
I want this forever.
Right.
I want, and not only do I want it forever, I want it to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy.
I want
good
it to
for
be
me.
healthy, but I have to learn, educate myself on how to get there. But I've spent so much time on making this picture for social media to post this wedding, and we about to get divorced next week because we don't really know how to communicate. We don't really know how to talk through problems. We don't really know how to spend money together because marriage counseling talks about finances.
Yeah.
Marriage counseling talks about infidelity. And if you go to a biblical marriage counselor, it talks about how to have Christ as the center, right? But we focus so much on this picture. I want this marriage to look a certain way. I want this wedding to look a certain way because I care what people think about how we look versus I want to make sure that we're good behind closed doors.
And also, here's the deal: the purpose of marriage needs to be in the forefront of your mind as well,
Yeah.
because it supersedes what you think the purpose of marriage is. A lot of people get into a marriage because, like, let's just talk about from a Christian's perspective. Man, I'm ready to have sex. Like, I've been holding out all my life. I am ready to have sex. Like, that's my number one reason why I want to get married. And now that you have it, you're unsatisfied in other areas.
Right.
Because you only paid attention to what you wanted.
That's good.
And as a result, you got married to satisfy that desire instead of really looking at what is the purpose behind marriage.
Right.
The purpose behind marriage, in my observation, is dominion. That's the purpose of marriage. Adam and Eve in the Bible, they was created. They was placed in the garden, and then God spoke at that moment and said, "Now let us give them dominion. And you guys be fruitful and multiply." It's about expanding God's kingdom.
Yeah.
That is the purpose of marriage. That's why he wants you to multiply. That's why he wants you to be fruitful. And so that way you can have dominion here on earth where God's kingdom can reign through the family unit.
Right.
Because everything starts, especially in the biblical days, through a family. He uses a family to expand his kingdom to another level, another degree, and that is the purpose. So now you have to take a step back and say, what is robbing me from my dominion? What is robbing me from the ability to multiply? What is robbing me from being fruitful? That's why the Bible says that it takes a village to raise a child. Now, we all think about that in the context of an actual child. A physical child.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, that's
I
what
see
you're
where you're going.
But the Bible talks about the children of Israel. It talks about that they was immature in their ways. They was undeveloped. And so therefore they thought like a kid. They act like a kid. And here's the deal. When your marriage is in its infancy stage, when your marriage is starting out, or when you're starting to date and get into a relationship, you're at the starting point. That means it's undeveloped and you're starting to develop something. You need a village. You need to go back to your mom, your dad, and also that counselor. You need a village to raise this gift or raise this marriage so that way it can be successful. And the village is going to help you through, but you can't just be a person to be like, you know what? Like, I don't need counseling. I'm all about the look. I'm all about the perception of what this look like. And no matter, we're arguing behind closed doors, but we're taking a picture, cheese into the camera. That's what really matters. It matters about the image more than it matters about the soul or the union that we have. I more so focus on what everybody else is perceiving us to
Right.
be. And as long as we can keep that intact, then we're not going to work on this.
Right.
We could sleep in two separate beds, but when everybody comes over, I need you to make sure that you get in line.
Right.
That's the perspective.
So sad.
That's the perspective that I believe that a lot of people are engaging to.
And so those isolated things we just talked about will drive somebody to need a prenup. Like, absent of focusing on a marriage, you talk about a wedding. He's talking about the picture, and you're talking about the child, right? Not cultivating those things. It will drive you to need a prenup because you're not focused on the right thing. You don't understand what marriage means.
Right.
You don't understand the purpose behind getting married.
Right.
And again, we do all these things for everything else, research for everything else. And as a nation, I won't say because I don't know what the divorce rates are in other countries, but I think America is like one of the leading divorce rates in the world.
Sure.
I think someone's looking it up right now. But as a nation, we create so many outs to live life how we want to live it to feel good. And literally, not just as it relates to divorce, that's on everything. I'm not saying I was about to say like we have lawyers in case we get in trouble. We need lawyers, obviously. That was a bad example in my head. That's what popped up. But, but we create all of these just in case things
For convenience.
for everything. I mean, heck, life is convenient.
Right.
And so anything that causes friction or the potential of, we create barriers or boundaries outside of Christ because it's permissible in the Bible. Divorce is okay for this thing. So I'm going to add some other things to that and create this just in case Pookie and them come and steal my money. I got something on paper that says, but why are you just in casing your husband?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you marry Pookie and them? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Why did you not go through the things that you're preparing for this divorce? Why you didn't prepare for your marriage?
Yeah. If people will get back to understanding biblical foundational principles of marriage, it will fix the need for people needing a prenup.
Right.
It will fix that need because you will not enter a marriage with the thought of just in case this does not work out.
Right.
You will have gotten to the point, if you go to counseling, someone who is a Bible-based believer and strong in their faith and understanding of how to counsel a engaged couple to getting to marriage, then you will be able to know before you get to the altar, I'm not supposed to marry you.
Right.
That will come out and should come out in your relationship. People who get married and are divorced for any other reason besides if there's infidelity, abuse, something that is really not centered, anything that's not this financial thing that we're talking about. If you're getting divorced for financial reasons or whatever the case is, I streamlined what I was saying. But if you're going into a marriage and you're getting divorced for something that's just petty, I'm gonna just say whatever it is, whatever that may be to you or to individuals that you shouldn't be getting divorced for, then you did need a prenup and you shouldn't have got married.
Right. And to the person, let me say this, to the person who is considering divorce and has valid reason to divorce, or considering marriage and has money and may need a prenup, there are reasons that and not just reasons, but there are factual cases of Christians who, and we talked about this before in Costa Rica, who get married and believe confirmation and believe that this was God's permissible will, right? And he talks about
Perfect
different
will.
perfect will. Or no, like at that point, it might have been permissible. And I might have felt like it was his perfect will. And then we do get divorced. My belief is, because there are cases where people do get divorced. It just happens, right? And it may be for a valid reason or whatever the case is. You won't need a prenup. That's my belief, because if we're both Christians and we're both following Christ, chasing after Christ, and for some reason we get divorced because maybe he had a few moments of life and whatever, he started beating on me, whatever the case is, or he cheated on me, and we get divorced, that divorce will happen amicably.
Okay, get it out.
Work it out.
What is the word?
What's the word, Marcus?
Amicably?
No, where it's like amicable, like we not arguing.
It'll be okay.
I
I don't know what word.
I don't know what
But I
word.
think what you're trying to
Type
say
in the chat.
is
What word
we
is
will
that?
be able to work it out.
We'll be able to work it out.
Because the foundation of me as an individual before I got married is
Right.
Christ, and I can work out something, whether it's my wife, whether it's my friend, whether it's
Right.
my boss,
Right.
whether whoever it is. If
Amicably.
ever, she's still trying to say it,
Amicable.
but yeah, if everybody in the world had biblical foundational principles that they always brought to every situation,
Yeah. You wouldn't have to do right. You
you
wouldn't
would
need
have to do a ton of stuff that we have to
Right.
do to try to make sure that we're even in the judicial system. Like, I know this ain't about prenups right now, but if everybody would get to the biblical foundational principles of Christ and the Bible, the world would literally be so much easier to just
Right.
deal with people. But I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, if you look at Revelation, that's not going to happen.
right. This is the word I was trying to say.
And so
Amicable.
I agree. Like having that Christian biblical foundation is important. But also, like for me, I didn't grow up in a household where we talked about
Right.
prenups or even like being one. Like that just wasn't a conversation that was kind of honed in. And so for, married couples that have kids, it's important that you show that and have
That
the
part.
culture of that in your house.
I don't think a lot of us in our age, I don't know what age that would be. I don't think none of us were really taught, like you're saying. Like, I wasn't taught how to have a great marriage.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, my parents, they got divorced, but as far as I was concerned growing up, they had a great marriage. And the divorce was kind of like, wow, where did that come from? They were married 29 years, And so I had a great example, but we lack that piece that Kia's talking about of sitting our children down and talking about how we had the success.
How you had
Because
it.
you might have a
Right.
successful marriage that you see, but I don't know how you did it. And then another step further, what is successful for you and you being married may not be successful for me and you being married, right?
That
But I
part.
can take that as a foundational, okay, they did this. Now, I can't communicate the same way they communicated, but I know that they had to go to someone to learn how to communicate, or they had to get a financial person to help them with their finances, or they had to, whatever the case is, I can take that foundational structure and place it onto my marriage. But we're not taught.
Right.
We're not taught how to do much of
We're not.
anything, honestly. We're not taught how to live life. And that's with marriage, that's with finances, that's with communication, that's with anger, that's with hurt feelings, that's with past. We're not taught. We just go through life watching people and seeing things and trying to replicate it,
That's so good.
duplicate it.
That goes back to what we were talking about on the other episode about just doing what we see other people doing, but not really getting educated on those topics or things.
Yeah, so like even going back to that, because like I don't want, just because you wasn't in the household and you didn't see it done the correct way, or you was never taught in your household how to do something, this is why you need God in your life.
Yeah.
Because the Holy Spirit will come upon you and it will guide you. It will give you wisdom. It will give you knowledge, because the Spirit of God knows things you do not know. You will find yourself like, I never seen this before, but I don't know why that I want to do this, but let me just cook for my husband.
Let me ask you a question, Dre, about that.
Yeah.
So do you think people should wait until they get that closeness with Christ before they get married?
Wow, absolutely, because you're not even your true self. You don't even know your true self. And so if you don't know yourself, how can you engage with somebody else?
Right. And I think the thing is this, people have this time clock in their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They think about this, it's the time clock. Okay, I gotta be this old, I gotta have kids, I don't want to be an old grandma, so I want to be young. Like it's like the time
Right.
clock, and then again, it's like you're thinking about everything else about life than the actual marriage itself. And so it's this time clock of what age do I need to be to have kids? I need to be able to get married at this point because we want to travel for 3 years before we have kids. And then we don't want to have kids while we're having to travel. So we want to get all that out of the way. And then I want them to be able to know their great-great-grandparents. And I saw this picture on social media where there's 4 generations. So I want to make sure that my great-great-grandparents are alive. So I want to be able to take that picture. We think about everything else besides the marriage. That's why they fail.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
It's why.
That's why.
A reason why.
One of the reasons, right?
One of the reasons why.
Right.
And going back to that, like focus on preparing yourself for marriage rather than trying to pursue marriage. Because that's 2 different perspectives.
Say it again.
Focus on preparing yourself for marriage rather than pursue marriage. Because if you're preparing yourself to
That's really good.
like guys, prepare yourself to be a husband.
Come on.
Right.
If you are not a leader now, then you cannot be a leader in your marriage.
Right. A light switch don't come on.
A light switch is just not going to come on.
Right.
If you're not submissive now, woman of God, you're not going to be submissive to your husband. If you don't know how to submit to authority and you struggle with that, then you're not going to be able to like authentically submit to your husband. There's going to be issues. If you have not marriage problems, but if you have financial problems, you're going to carry that into your marriage. If you are a type of person to where you don't like to give, like you have a struggle of giving, it's going to be a struggle for you to give towards your wife and even know that concept. Because again, possessions have you, and you identify yourself with possessions, and you struggle with that, and you never dealt with that. So now you bring that into your marriage, and it's the same thing. It's a cycle all over again. You need to prepare yourself, cleanse yourself. Get this, like for all my Bible believing believers, I want you to notice something. Before Jesus gave himself up to the cross, right? That was a marriage point. Before he gave himself up to the cross, giving his my body to this thing, giving my soul up to this thing, Mary prepared Jesus with her hair. The Bible says that she poured out her oil on his body. That was a preparation what there to come. Jesus, before he left, he prepared his disciples by washing their feet for the purpose of ministry. There got to be preparation before you actually obtain what you're trying to obtain. Yeah. There got to be a season. There got to be a journey of preparing yourself so that way you can actually be equipped for what you are wanting to get yourself into.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Because it's not going to be easy. Marriage is not going to be easy, of course, because one thing that marriage do is that it reveals yourself.
Yeah.
It reveals your flaws, your struggles, the things that you didn't deal with. It reveals all of that. Your focus is, oh, I need to find me a wife. Oh, I need to find me a husband. That's not your focus. Your focus is, God, search me, search my soul, search my mind, get rid of things that has been attached to me for all of these years. I need to deal with my trauma. I need to deal with my laziness. I need to deal with my ill ability to be able to lead. I need to deal with certain things in my life. And so that's why Christianity is the major key, is because you work through those things through the process of serving. Yeah. Serve your local church.
Right.
I promise you that's preparation of marriage. Serve your local church. It's because now you know how to serve another vision. Now you're serving with excellence. Now you're learning how to lead. Now you're being developed as a servant. So that way you can serve your marriage.
Good.
So
That's good.
I'm gonna give my last comments on this subject. Dre just preached a whole sermon.
Right.
Wow.
Lord,
Always.
always, right?
Always
Every
just
My
trying to
God.
turn into a preacher.
But I would say, and I like to give like charges at the end for my closing
I love
statements.
that for you.
If you feel like, or if you're preparing to get married, if you're preparing for a wedding, let's say that, and you are in discussions about a prenup, you need to remove yourself from conversations of a wedding, and you need to change and shift those conversations into preparing for a marriage. If you're in a conversation about prenups and you're unsure whether to sign one or not, that means that you are not preparing for your marriage. And I would charge you to look at yourself and look at your relationship with Christ. Because if you are preparing for a prenup while preparing for a wedding, not preparing for a marriage, then you probably are not aligned fully with the biblical reason for a marriage, with the biblical reason for covenant. You're probably not aligned fully with the understanding. While you may be a Christian who reads the Bible, you probably are lacking understanding in that particular area. And the only way to gain understanding is by reading God's word. Our pastor says, and someone help me with this, we get faith by hearing, and what is it that he says? Faith comes by hearing, and hearing is that right? Hearing the word of God?
So, yes. So faith comes by hearing.
Right.
And faith goes by speaking.
That's what I thought you were trying to say, but I didn't know if you're trying to say the scripture.
Okay. Basically, what I'm saying is read the word to get understanding and fully look at yourself lined up with the Bible to see if you're preparing for the right thing. Because you should not be in questions of a prenup if you are lined up with the word of God.
Yeah. That's good.
That is.
So what I want to say here is, because for the past few minutes I've been thinking in my head, and I don't want anyone to necessarily, she spoke to if you're thinking about a prenup and you're engaged or getting married. I want to speak to if you're already married and maybe you do have a prenup. Because I don't want you to feel discouraged. I don't want you to feel like bashed right now, because that's definitely not what it is. But I encourage you, and I encourage you to think back to when you decided to get that prenup and ask yourself why. Why did I decide to get this prenup, or what brought this thought to my head initially in the first place to this marriage to say, let's get a prenuptial agreement, to just in case, or whatever the thought was. And then go back and have a conversation with your spouse, and then also take inventory of where you are in your relationship with God, in your relationship with Christ. If you don't have a relationship with Christ, I think we have to go way back and really look at some things before you can really dive deep into this. So I encourage you to get in a Bible-believing, Christian, faith-based church and get some teaching. I mean, there's stuff everywhere. There's stuff on YouTube. There's stuff. Be careful who you listen to and who you allow to pour into you. Please find somebody who's in your life who is of sound mind that you can get counsel from. But find something to get information, and get faith in you, and then get biblical teaching about marriage. And then go back and ask yourself, why did I feel the need to get a prenup? Why did I feel the need to get this agreement with my spouse? And then have a conversation with your spouse. Consider what may need to change in my mindset and his mindset and her mindset and our mindset collectively, because technically you are one flesh. You're one being. You're one unit. And so you shouldn't be saying this is mine and this is yours, and everything should be both of yours together. And so marriage is a beautiful thing, but we have to let it and allow it to be the beautiful thing that God created it to be, and not base the beauty on what we see other people having, because your marriage is not other people's marriage. Your marriage is your marriage between you, husband and wife. That's it.
Yes. And to speak to that, here's what I want to say. I truly believe that people have to deal with their trauma. A lot of the times we make decisions based on our past traumas, and that have shaped your world view of how you view yourself, how you view your marriage, how you view the world at large. Maybe you have self-esteem issues. Maybe you have security issues. Maybe you feel inadequate in to a certain level or a certain degree, and that is the reason why once you have gained success in your life, you feel like you need to do everything in your power to control that. And not share it or not be vulnerable with the things that God has blessed you with. And it stems from trauma. Trauma, that simply means that you are not willing to try. You have stopped. Like, let's just say you was driving, you got in a car accident, that traumatized you. You're saying to yourself, I no longer want to drive any longer. That's trauma. Trauma like robs your ability to try again.
That's good.
And so to release you from that is that it goes back to what my wife was saying. You need to renew your mind. You need to renew your mind daily, because what that does is it cleanses you from all that unrighteousness, that hurt, that emotional trauma, the things that you have seen in the past. And what it does is now God is filling you up with new hope, new ideas, and now your faith is restored. It's restored to where it needs to be, so that way you can operate not in the flesh, because your flesh is so many different things that is controlling that flesh. You need to walk in the spirit more than your flesh. Is because the Spirit of God is going to give you that godly counsel, and it's going to lead you and guide you in the right way as it relates to your marriage. And so get rid of that trauma, and I guarantee you will be a new creature in God and look at things from a different lenses.
That's good. So my final thoughts is marriage is not a contract. It's a covenant that God created. And when you go into a marriage, it shouldn't be, I'm bringing in 50, you're bringing in 50. No, I'm bringing in my whole self. That includes my finances. You're bringing in your whole self, and that includes your finances. And we're one. And having that mindset and that perspective, your marriage is able to be built on a solid, good foundation.
That's good. That's good.
Wow, that topic probably could have gone on and on.
Yeah.
Got into marriage.
So yeah, hey, so that was a good discussion, y'all.
Yeah.
But man, like she said, it could have gone on and on. But appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, if you don't follow us already on our social media platforms, please go ahead and do that on Instagram, Facebook, IG, and subscribe on YouTube, and set up alerts and ring the bell.
And don't forget about our live we're going to have after this episode drops.
Yes.
Y'all jump on with your questions. Our last couple
Oh my
lives
God.
Right, they were good.
have been really good. So
Check it
y'all
out on
jump
our
on
page.
with your perspectives and questions on this topic. I tell people all the time, write notes down
Right,
like you're in
taking a
school.
test.
Because it's good. It's good.
Let's go deeper.
I'm so
Yes.
done. Deeper. Hey, man. But yeah, that's it.
Well, until next time, that's the tea with Who Are We?
Out
Love
here.
y'all.
Out,
Holla,
out, 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 out. Ow, ow, ow.